The words of everyday Americans who made a difference. The people speak. Marissa Tomei performs the words of a General Motors employee during a 1930s labor strike.
When you worked in the factory in those days, no one cared what your name was. They used to say, once you pass the gates of General Motors, forget about the United States Constitution. Workers had no rights when they entered that plant. If a foreman didn't like the way you parted your hair, or whatever he didn't like about you, you may have looked at him the wrong way or said something that rubbed him the wrong way. He could fire you. No recourse. No nothing. The workers were kept intimidated because if they didn't comply with what the foreman told them to do, they would lose their jobs. Their families would starve. When workers started talking about organizing, management hired lip readers to watch the men talk to each other so they could tell if they were talking union. We held meetings in garages and basements, secret meetings, so the people wouldn't get caught, beaten up. First sit down was on December 30th in the small Fisher Body Plant 2. The workers were at the point where they had just had enough. And they sat down. When the UAW leaders in the big Fisher Body Plant 1 heard about the sit down in Fisher 2, they sat down also. That took real guts, and it took political leadership. The company decided that they had to break the strike. It was very cold. They turned off the heat in the building. Then the company police and the city police started shooting. The police were using rifles, buckshot, fire bombs, tear gas canisters. It was a shock to a lot of people. We had thought that General Motors would try to freeze us out, but never open fire on us right in the middle of the city. Workers overturned police cars to make barricades. They ran to pick up the fire bombs thrown at them and hurl them back at the police. The men wanted me to get out of the way. You know, the old protect the women and children business. I told them, get away from me. The lights went on in my head. I thought, I have never used a loudspeaker to address a large crowd of people, but I've got to tell them there are women down here. First thing I did was attack the police. I called to them, cowards! Cowards! Shooting into the bellies of unarmed men and firing at the mothers of children. And then everything became quiet. There was silence on both sides of the line. I thought, the women can break this up. So I appealed to the women in the crowd. Break through those police lines and come down here and stand beside your husbands and your brothers and your uncles and your sweethearts. I could barely see one woman struggling to come forward. A cop had grabbed her by the back of her coat. She just pulled out of that coat. And she started walking down to the battle zone. As soon as that happened, there were other women and men who followed. That was the end of the battle. When those spectators came into the center of the battle and the police retreated, it was a big roar of victory. Following the strike, the auto worker became a different human being.
For more of The People Speak, go to history.com/peoplespeak.